Alright, so this is going to be my review of Dracula Untold. Now, this movie I went in with very little expectations, and those little expectations were met. Not in the sense that this was a bad movie. I think it was pretty okay, but let me say this right now. If you went in thinking that this is going to be the definitive Dracula movie, I'd say keep waiting. Or if anything, stick with Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, or in some people's case, the Christopher Lee horror of Dracula, or even Bela Lugosi's Dracula. Because this definitive Dracula, this is not. Having said that, though, this is not a bad film, but I feel like this should be something you should watch on Netflix or on a matinee, because that's really the best way I could describe it. It's not a bad movie, but right out the gate, it's like Netflix, catching on Netflix or pay-per-view or matinee. This is not like, worth your a whole premiere type event type movie thingy. That I can't say words. Anyway, so the story is that this is supposed to be Dracula's Secret Origins and supposedly going to be the Kickstarter into Universal's connected universe of all the Universal monsters like the Mummy, Frankenstein, the Creature from the Black Lagoon, and they're going to be all interconnected. So yeah, horror monster Avengers, I guess. That's the best way I could describe it. Horror monster Avengers. But I don't know if Universal will be willing to do that, because I saw the numbers for how much Dracula made in its opening weekend. Yeesh. But again, this is not a bad movie. In no way this is like a terrible shit stain of a film. Now, the story is that, again, this is Dracula. He's trying to he's trying to maintain peace in Transylvania. The Turks come in, and they're like, well, you're going to give away all your lands to us. All your base belong to us. And we're going to, take your children, including your son, and rule over the world. And we're going to rule and create a giant empire. To which Dracula's like, fuck no! And he goes to see a vampire played by Charles Dance. Always cool to see Tywin Lannister in here, and Tywin Lannister, I'm going to call him Vamp Tywin, decides, hey, I'm going to turn you into a vampire, but here's the deal: you're going to be, you're going to have all my powers, but however, you're going to be immune to, religious artifacts because you're not a true vampire yet. Because for 3 days, you're going to be overcome with most insatiable lust for drinking blood. But however, if you don't drink blood for 3 days, then you can go back to being human. Okay, interesting rule. But here's the thing: Vlad gets all this cool vampire powers without too much of the weaknesses. I say that loosely because the only thing that doesn't hurt him is religious objects. I mean, the silver kind of hurts him and the sunlight hurts him. But yeah, here's my biggest thing with this. I mean, he said, I'm going to end this war with the Turks in 3 days. To which I reply with, why don't you just finish it in one night? You clearly wiped out a whole legion of guys in under under a few hours. Why not just go to the Sultan's camp, kill him, and then wipe out everybody there by yourself? I'm just saying. I guess you needed a movie because Vlad is so overpowered. And again, I will agree with some people saying that, yeah, this has a Castlevania type feel to it. Yeah, you can't tell me this feels like something from Castlevania. And yeah. Now among other things, again, that's just the only thing. And let me bring up another stupid fact. There's a scene in here where the Sultan says, well, my army can't be afraid of something they can't see. So here's what he does. He blindfolds all of his soldiers and leads them into battle by the sound of his voice. Who the fuck does that? On the grounds that that is stupid, Just the sound of your voice isn't going to carry to the entire legion of your army. And more than likely, you're traversing mountain paths in Transylvania. Those things are steep. And, yeah, I'm pretty sure somewhere down the road several of them fell or either got lost in the forest or something, because that is stupid. But and again, I feel like they just wanted to make a full movie. But however, they kind of make Vlad stupid on the grounds of, hey, I have all this power. I can just march right in there in the dead of night and just wreck everything, which he does at the end of the film. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, he does that at the end of the film, but it just kind of feels like, oh yeah, I should have done this to begin with, and then, all this pain and suffering I've endured wouldn't have happened. But Luke Evans, let's talk about Luke Evans. He really steals the show. He's probably one of my favorite Draculas. There have been some bad Draculas in films. Luke Evans is not one of them. I think he really carried himself here. He really made himself a very powerful presence, which is good and bad because the only two actors in here that you really feel like you care about is Luke Evans as Dracula and Charles Dance as the Master Vampire. That's really what he's called. So yeah, so those are the only two that you feel like have a presence. And granted, Charles Dance only has about 11 minutes of screen time, or 11 minutes or less screen time wise, and yeah, it's a little. Even I'm kind of stretching there, but still, Luke Evans really gives it his all here, and I really did like his performance as Dracula and how he kind of carried himself throughout this film. However, Vlad's wife and child I could give two shits about. I mean, they weren't terrible. They weren't terrible actresses. I just felt like they were kind of overshadowed by Evans' acting. They were just really overshadowed because he was just, like I said, he was giving it all in this film. He really was. And again, some of the kill scenes in here are really good. For a PG-13 movie, there's some pretty good kill scenes in seeing Vlad just kind of rip his way through an entire army. And I kind of like how some of the films are shot. And it's really cool to see, how they kind of implore all of Dracula's powers together. And it was kind of cool to see, a giant army, a squad of vampires just kind of fall down from the sky and kill their way through a bunch of people. Also, I'm a little pissed off because apparently Baba Yaga from, Russian mythology was going to be in this movie. I did not see her anywhere in this film. So, stupid false advertising, making me, wishing to see, the Russian witch and, the Romanian Prince of Darkness go head-to-head. That would have been awesome. But instead, nope, I don't get that at all. Damn it. Oh, well. All in all, again, this is in no way a terrible, vampire movie. It's not one of the greats either, but it's something you can pop in on, I'd say, again, yeah, this is probably going to be Netflix-worthy or pay-per-view, or even matinee. This is not, something you would go to see on a Friday night and, wait and spend a lot of money, because then I feel like you'll have the buyer's remorse if you do that with this movie. That's what we kind of did, and we walked out, I was like, well, it wasn't, my dad, my brother, and I walked out of there like, well, it wasn't terrible, but I feel like we got cheated. That's really what we felt like here. Again, not a bad film in the slightest. It's not a terrible film, but I just feel like they kind of downplayed Dracula's intelligence, and they went. I feel like some of the things they could have done could have been easily fixed. The effects are pretty good. There are some pretty awesome kill scenes, and for what it's worth, it's something you should at least check out. Anyway, so that's pretty much my review on Dracula Untold. If you've seen the movie, you guys tell me what you think. Do you guys like it? Do you guys hate it? And once again, I hope you guys enjoyed this review.